What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be talking about if used car prices are going down, why aren't they more affordable? And that's the million-dollar question. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I did a used car market update talking about the current situation of how cars are basically dropping in price. They're starting to get a days on market over 100 days, and there's more and more cars in inventory, and so it's a great time to buy because there's a lot of deals. But I read a lot of your guys' comments, and a lot of people chimed in saying, cars are still overpriced, they're not affordable, I can't get one, everything is crazy and out of control. And so I want to give you guys a more thorough breakdown of what's happening to the average American consumer when they're buying cars. Because believe it or not, I'm going to show you some numbers. The prices are down dramatically and they're going to continue to fall, but that is not going to help cars become more affordable. Now, I'm going to show you this thing from Cox Automotive called the Used Car Index. Now, I don't like to use a lot of charts and graphs in my videos if you've watched a lot of mine. So the way I like to judge the market is based on what banks are buying, what dealerships are selling, and what consumers are looking for and they're going out and shopping and spending their money on. And so that gives me a real fingers on the pulse, boots on the ground opinion of what's going on in the car market. Because a lot of these graphs, I believe, can be manipulated for basically fake numbers, and that's what I think they're showing on the media. But for just this demonstration, I will be using this graph. Now, looking at this graph, you can see in 2021, the market hit an all-time high of a 258-point index. Now, this means that cars went up dramatically, obviously, and all the crazy lending and everything else that came along with it. But if you look at April of 2024, you could see that it's down to 198.4. Now, that is a far steep fall compared to where it was. We're actually only about 20 something points away from where we were in 2019. So this is proof showing you that cars are getting cheaper, but why aren't they getting more affordable? So for the example, I'm going to be using a Toyota Camry. Now, if you would have purchased this thing somewhere around the middle of 2022, you'd be paying somewhere around $35,000. Now, the car's only worth $25,000, but since banks were lending 160, 170, 180% LTV, they would allow you to go up to $35,000 no problem. And this is what banks did to justify paying these overinflated prices. On top of that, banks were very forgiving when it came to interest. If you were a prime buyer, some banks had anywhere from 0 to 2.9%. And if you were a subprime buyer, I've seen rates as low as 3%, which was absolutely ridiculous. And then on top of that, they were giving out crazy terms of anywhere from 84 to 96 months. So even though the cars were selling way over what they were worth, they would stretch out that loan and somehow make it seem like it's more affordable. So in this Toyota Camry, if you were to buy it with no money down at $35,000, paying, let's say, 3% interest, your payment would be $462. And at the end of your term, you would pay somewhere around $3,000 in interest. Now, I know a lot of you guys are looking at this thinking, wow, that's a great deal. I would take that deal today. So let's go ahead and fast forward to today and see what the market currently bears. So let's go ahead and talk about the exact same Toyota Camry in today's market. Now, today you'd be able to buy it for $10,000 cheaper than what you were in 2022. So now you'd be buying that car for somewhere around $25,000, which is a great deal. You saved a lot of money. But here's the kicker. As you know, interest rates have gone up because of inflation, because banks are losing so much money. And so now you're going to be paying somewhere, the average is between 11 to 15% interest on a used car, whether you are prime or subprime buyer, which is absolutely insane. But just for the sake of this demonstration, let's use 12.95, 13%, somewhere in the middle. So now you're at 13% interest. Remember, banks always want to outrun their risk, whether they're losing a lot of money through bad loans, they have people basically not paying their cars, walking away from them, they're always going to adjust things. So now that this is happening, a lot of banks are shortening the terms. So those 84 to 96 month terms that you got maybe in 2022, those are gone. Now you're looking at probably about 60 months as your average loan term. So at 60 months, your payment is somewhere around $568 a month. So even though the car is $10,000 cheaper, it's still $100 more expensive to buy it today than what it was back in 2022. And to add insult to injury, if you were to pay this thing all the way up to term, you'd be paying over $9,000 in interest, which is absolutely horrific. And this is why the market is trending. And this is why I keep telling people, it's not about the price that's going to make the car affordable. It's going to be the interest rate. I always knew that as the banks stopped lending and the rates went up, the prices were going to go down. And we kept talking about it over and over again. Now, I know a lot of you guys have been waiting on the sidelines for 6 months, a year, 2 years, even 3 years to buy a car. Now, if you have cash, it's a great time for you to jump in because there's a lot of deals out there. But unfortunately, most of the majority of Americans are going to be financing these cars. And they're going to have to pay these crazy interest rates with these crazy fees to buy these cars. So even though, like I said, you see a dramatic price drop compared to 2 years ago, it's still not affordable. That's why I labeled this video the way I did. Now, to add even more grief and sorrow to the car industry is the car insurance. The number one deal killer of all dealerships that I've been talking to is the cost of insurance. Now, depending in your state, insurance raised anywhere from double to triple the original amounts. Here in Las Vegas, we had a 48% increase in insurance premiums. I talked about it a bunch of times on my channel. My insurance went from $268 a month for my Audi R8 all the way up to $600 to $800 to $1,000 a month with 0 accidents, 0 tickets, 0 claims, but they still tripled my insurance thanks to Progressive. So every time I would ask why, what was the reasoning, blah, 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 they just kept saying this is what the current market is bringing. We have so many losses. And, we have people that, live in California that have fires, floods, people in Florida, hurricanes and flooding, all that crazy stuff. But I live in the middle of the desert. The only thing here is you could probably drive around and hit a drunk person in Las Vegas. But unfortunately, they told me that it's because all the theft around the entire United States, and they had to pay out extra money when it came to totaling out cars 2 years ago. Remember how all these used car prices jumped? They would insure your Toyota Camry, which was worth $25,000, their premium would be based off a $25,000 value. But in 2022 or 2023, when you crashed it, and now is magically worth $30,000 or $35,000, they would have to pay you out the difference. And that's what set us up for failure. So now we're going to have another year to 2 years before the market gets back to normal when it comes to insurance. On top of that, we're seeing sky-high prices when it comes to labor if you want to fix your car. So even though you got a cheaper car, it's used, and you're keeping it, if you want to get any type of work done, the labor has gotten extremely expensive because there is definitely a shortage of automotive technicians in the United States. Any shop you go to, you're going to be waiting a week to 3 weeks to get your car done. And then on top of that, let's throw in parts. Parts have jumped up 62% in some fields, which is insane. And some manufacturers have still not started back up since the pandemic. So if you have a rare or unique car, unfortunately, they're not going to be making parts for your car. They're going to be focusing on the cars that are already out there on the streets that are in there in bulk. And so we're seeing this firsthand. I've seen a lot of people buying cars at auctions or buying something on Craigslist and then turning around and putting it back up for sale. And I wondered why. So I started looking and I'm like, okay, a head gasket for this particular Dodge or this Chrysler or this Alfa Romeo. And I started getting calls notifying me that some of the parts were back ordered for 3 to 6 months. And this let me know that a lot of cars are going to be coming up on either for sale, for trade-in, or for whatever else just because they can't get the parts. So you need to be very careful when you go car shopping. Even though it may seem like a good deal, it may not. Also, I'm having a lot of problems with people with Turo. If you buy a car and unfortunately there's a recall, you can't rent it out on Turo. Or if you want to sell it as us dealers, sometimes we have to fix it depending on your state. And some of these recalls are on national back order for months, if not years. So now you have a car you can't rent out or you can't sell because of this particular recall. And it's just getting out of control more and more. So all these things are leading to basically the affordability of a used car going up instead of down. Now, there is light at the end of the tunnel, especially when it comes to used car prices. So we are continually seeing the prices drop every single week. Look up this Manheim Used Car Index. It's always there. You can see how cars are dropping dramatically every single week. But at the end of the day, none of that is going to matter if interest rates stay high. But here's the big question. If prices continue to go down, eventually the Fed is going to lower the interest rate. Inflation is going to get under control, and they're going to do some things to lower the rates. Now, what do you think is going to happen if all of a sudden everybody that wanted to buy a car at 13-14% interest now can get that exact same car for 2 to 5% interest? Do you think prices, the way they are now, are going to stay this way? Are they going to go up? It's just like the housing market. There are so many people on the sidelines waiting to make some sort of moves. So if you can't afford a Toyota Camry today at 12% interest at $462 a month, or excuse me, $568 a month, you know, what happens when it goes back down to 3%? You can buy that exact same car for like $280 a month or something like that. Everybody's going to jump back into the market. And once again, it's going to cause people to start buying, and it's going to raise the value and prices of cars. So this is the question you have to ask. Do you want to buy a car today, lock in a higher interest rate, but get a cheaper overall cost, or do you want to wait till the interest rates go down so you can buy your car, but then pay more money for it in the long run? But anyways, I'd love to know your opinion. What do you guys think of the market? Do you think when interest rates go down, are the prices of used cars going to go up? Are they going to stay the same? Are you currently shopping for a car? Have you bought a car? What are you guys seeing in your local markets? Also, if you could do me a huge favor and gently squeeze the like button, also subscribing, I truly appreciate it. I post 3 times a week, and I always love to make fun, exciting content for you. We have a lot of big things coming up. Also, if you want to be part of our online community, you can go to automotivelife.com and join our community. I do weekly Q&A sessions where you can ask me pretty much anything about the automotive industry. We also have some fun classes, so if you want to learn how to be a dealer, flip cars, work on cars, own a shop, whatever it is, we have something there for everybody. But I want to thank you guys so much again for watching, and follow me on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, and we'll see you next video.